We are here to talk about mental health. This is just a casual conversation during Black History Month, because we know the Association for Study of African American Life and History, the national theme that they have set aside is Black Health and Wellness. So I'm hosting a series of Black Health is Black Wealth. It's a conversation just to talk about our mental health and what we can do to support each other, especially during difficult times such as these. So Sonia, we'll just start chatting. So what is mental health? What's mental health?
Mental health, when we describe it or talk about it, we're talking about your mental and emotional well-being. Just as we have physical health, our mental health is just as important, because it's a part too, because we like to focus on the physical, but the mental part is the emotional part. It deals with our emotions, our feelings. And we know based on research, the way we think and our emotions truly affect our physical body, which affects our behaviors and which affects our whole entire life.
No.
About it.
No, it's so true. Like, we don't think about how much our emotions can like get us enraged and get us to a place that is not safe mentally. So I think to me that, I never thought my emotional being was part of my mental health, but it does affect, and those two go hand in hand. So what are some ways for someone who are not exhibiting, maybe like they weren't diagnosed, but they know that mentally they're struggling with some issues? What are some ways that they can improve their mental health, even starting today?
Some of the ways we recommend is there's easy, simple ways you can do from home, like self-affirmation. A lot of my clients with anxiety, they even say speaking words out, words of affirmation helps them. Journaling, because journaling allows you to just be in the moment and just focus on, okay, how do I really feel? What's really going on? And you're able to express it. Because that oftentimes people hold the emotion versus okay, let's recognize it. Let's acknowledge it for what it is. I'm angry right now. Look, this happened to me and this is affecting me. So journaling, exercise helps a lot because it's able to balance the hormones and everything. Diet is key as well. You definitely want to not be eating junk. You are what you eat. So you want to
true.
Vegetables. That helps a lot. Meditation, mindfulness. They have a lot of apps that helps with mindfulness. That helps a lot, especially with anxiety and depression. Those are some common ways that you can help improve your mental.
So just starting today, we can just start with just affirming that, hey, today's going to be better. So taking those steps. Sometimes I realize my Apple Watch will tell me, hey, take a moment of mindfulness right now. And I'm like, how do you know that I need a moment? Do they feel my blood pressure raising right now? So no, that is definitely key. What are some of the stigmas, especially in the Black community? I feel like, the old folks will tell you pray about it. Haitians don't even believe in it. It's just there's so many stigmas around mental health, and I think the more we talk about it, the more and the more we see it, even today, it becomes more real and it's prevalent. But what are some other stigmas surrounding mental health that we may not even be aware of, or we're causing or attributing to the stigmas?
I will start with the private stigma, because we honestly have private stigma and then we have public. The private stigma is you hear it a lot in families, we don't tell people our business. Haitians too. Nou pas di mon business nou. Or oh, we strong, or I'm strong. Honey, just sir, ma'am, just because you're strong, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna struggle. You don't have emotions. You could be a strong Black woman, strong Black man, and struggling, have a hard time emotionally. It's okay. Another lie too is a public stigma as well. This is the thing. I'm noticing now too, I get a little irritated when I see on TV now, people are oh, you crazy. Or they, we joke about it. Oh, this weather is bipolar. Oh, she bipolar. Let's be sensitive. Let's change the narrative. Let's be sensitive. People really have mental health issues. We don't want to make a joke about it. So there's this public stigma too, where we just don't want to talk about it. And the thing is too, okay, we don't want people to know our business, or we say, oh, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Or like you said, there's a faith aspect as well. We say, oh, I have faith. Just because you have faith doesn't mean you can't talk to a therapist. Just because you have faith doesn't mean you can't try psychotherapy. You can't try an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. You know what I mean? It takes faith to. It takes faith to reach out. It takes faith to acknowledge, you know what? I'm struggling emotionally right now, mentally. Let me reach out.
Mm-hmm. And even right now in the media, Kanye West was trending yesterday during the Sunday during the Super Bowl. And we know that that's someone who is open about his mental illness and about what he's going through. And you kind of see like the comments and you see people are saying, oh, he's crazy. But, someone who's a celebrity that everyone sees, who's everyone's watching is battling the same issues. And, it's like how can we, like you see that and you almost want to be like, okay, he's crazy. But like you said, being sensitive and saying, hey, this man is going through, and hoping that he gets the help that he needs. I know that.
Yeah. Definitely. And let me tell you something. One thing that I think it was NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I was reading an article of theirs and they were talking about like disability. And I love it because like what I got from the article, I was like, just because disability does not mean inability. And then I'm say, I love like Kanye West's whole story. I love how he's still thriving, even with, he's battling with bipolar disorder, whatever the case may be, because I see it so often. People with like ADHD, people with anxiety, whatever the case may be, the mental illness, you can still have a thriving, successful life. You know what I mean? You just have to start with, of course, acknowledging, okay, I need to take this step and reaching out. Okay, acknowledging I'm struggling. I'm not sleeping. Seems like I'm, struggling emotionally. Let me reach out, acknowledge it, and then reach out. And know that there's still the ability to have a fully functional, thriving like life.
No, for sure. And this one, I didn't realize it until I became an adult and I had to deal with someone who was struggling with mental illness, because like, the stigma, okay, maybe he's just having a bad day, or maybe, this or she's just not dealing well. But I didn't realize how deep depression gets, or I didn't realize how, how people's moods switch easily and how they may need they may need help. And I would just kind of brush it aside. But now as an adult, I see it more and we don't talk about it as much. I think it's kind of like that quiet, illness that we just don't want to talk about. So I really hope to.
It's very sensitive and it's hard to talk about. But hopefully we can like make it, normalize it, especially in the media. And I'm so grateful for all of the mental health advocacy lately within especially last 2 months during COVID. It's been really helpful. Especially being able to just normalize it, changing the language about mental health and helping people you know what, let me seek help. You know what, okay, Kanye West, such people are struggling, because that's the thing with mental health illness. It does not discriminate. It affects us all.
Yeah, young, old, I think now the older you get, the more wiser you become. And even someone who's newly elected, this is a new job and it comes with a lot of pressure. And with that pressure, it affects my mental. And there's days where I have to say, okay, Kassandra, today you've had enough. Let's tap out. Let's reset. Let's, reconnect. Because it's a constant, to serve, over 15,000 people. And your phones are ringing, people are needing help. There's a series of homelessness in our community. Is it takes a toll on me mentally, and I have to find my, my area to retreat or talk to my, my therapist, or just letting that thing out, because it does affect us mentally and we don't talk about it, but we should definitely talk about it way more. So what are some signs of someone who may be struggling with mental illness? What are some things that we can be aware of, just to kind of say, hey, I didn't know that was a sign, like someone who's always their aggression, or they're aggravated all the time. What are some other signs that people may not are aware of, that shows that someone's struggling with mental illness?
That's a good Good question. Most people like, especially like when I speak to like mothers or like family members, they usually say the first sign they notice is the person becomes isolated.
Mm.
And that's the thing I always say to like all my clients, like whoever I serve, I'm like, don't isolate yourself. Community is big. It's so big. We were born for relationships. Let me tell you, we need each other. So like that's like usually like the first sign people become isolated, especially, or they don't do what they're familiar used to doing, like their familiar activities. So they like stop hanging around kind of with their friends or their families. Like, oh, what happened? And then like they'll just be like, be short. Or some other signs too, like if you're living in a household with someone, would be like you notice that they're not sleeping, and you notice like change in their eating patterns. So, but this is the thing, it's different for everyone, these symptoms. So some people overeat and some people like don't eat, like poor eaters. And of course, like insomnia, so you have difficulty sleeping. And then some people seem a little confused. Sometimes it can be like just hyperactivity, where people are shopping uncontrollably. I mean, the symptoms are different for everyone, but most people say, like about 80%, they say they seem like they start to isolate themselves, or they didn't call as much. We would talk every like 3 times a week, and then like I wouldn't hear from them, you know?
No, that one is, I didn't realize isolation was it, but you know, when you're dealing with something, and even myself, like I started to isolate myself and I didn't even realize it. Like I didn't want to go out as much. I would tell my friends, hey, I'm tired, but I really just want to be in my bed because I had a long day. And I didn't even realize I was isolating myself from my friends. And they're like, Kassandra, you're just always flagging. But it's, you know, I didn't even think about that. And I saw them having a good time. And then I was upset that I didn't go. So no, I didn't even think about that. That's a
But they don't
good one.
often people say to, oh yeah, I stopped going to church. They stopped doing what they're, you know, familiar to do. So
no, that's a good one.
To how we can improve our mental health, I'm just thinking once you said it, like having just like talking to a friend, like that can help you. Like that's something on a daily basis that can help you with your mental health. Don't like hold it in for yourself. Call a friend. Everyone needs a friend that they can just vent to and just be honest to, be vulnerable to, you know?
No, that one, that's a good one. As a family or friend, what can we do to support our loved ones who are exhibiting signs of mental illness or mental health concerns?
That's a good one of the ways, because this question is personal for me. Let me tell you, because I've had people in my own household struggle with depression. And what I literally have found is like, of course, be sensitive. Never, ever, ever. It don't matter if they're in the wrong and the right. Never, ever judge them and say, you're the reason why, you know, you're struggling. Be sensitive and always be there, like, and make it, verbalize that to them. I'm here if you need anything, if you ever want to talk, and also give them their space too.
No, that's a good one. And what are some things we shouldn't do as someone who are going through like mental health concerns? Because I know we talk about what we should do. So be sensitive, you know, be there, you know, just letting them know that, hey, they have a helping hand. But what are some absolute no-nos of, you know, with, you know, how do you approach someone who are dealing with depression or bipolar disorder?
What I think, I'm just thinking about what clients have said that parents tried to do, like literally schedule the appointment for them, like therapy, or just being too much on their, okay, wake up. Like, you know, being too like aggressive, or the way you, sometimes it's not too what you say, is how you say it. So remember, to people who are struggling, they're very sensitive, the way you say it sometimes too. And of course, you don't want to be like a drill sergeant, you know, like on them. Give them their space. And when people are ready, they will express how they're feeling. And you definitely want to, of course, too, like you want to give people space, but you also like, you want to be able to watch them if you hear, let's say they're expressing thoughts to like harm themselves, or whatever the case may be. You definitely want to be able to like intervene on their behalf. Like,
no, that's definitely some keys, because sometimes, you know, as friends, you know, we don't realize that maybe we're being insensitive, or we're being irritable, and we're like, just trying to tell them, hey, slap out of it. And they
Yeah,
can't.
never
So
snap out of it. Woo.
yeah. So yeah, some of the don't do's, especially because we just don't know what people's mental states are, especially right now during COVID, which leads to my
Or
next,
don't say,
or don't say
I
what?
just, or don't say, Black people don't take medicine.
Oof.
Black people don't do this. No, 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 no. Because let's be honest, some people, yeah, therapy helps. You're seeing a therapist. Some people, you need medicine. Let's not say Black people don't do that. Come on now.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to do better. We definitely have to do better. Especially right now in terms of COVID, like we're still dealing through this global pandemic. And how has COVID-19 impacted your field? Because I could tell you, when everything was closed for a while, I was like, okay, I get to rest. This is cool. But then after a while, I was like, okay, this is too much. Like, there's protests on TV. I'm angry. I'm happy. I'm sad. I'm upset. Like, it was just so much emotions, and you're just stuck in your room, stuck. You can't go outside. You can't go to the movies and do those things that you would normally do. So what were some of the implications of COVID-19 in your field?
The implications were pretty much the demand was high, of course, like practitioners and providers definitely had to step up the hours, and like the patient like intake, oh my gosh, it's been pretty busy, but we're here to serve. So that's what we're here to do. And we also noticed, according to the research, usually typically like the suicide rates, they increase for some reason in like Black women about 6%. But let me tell you, it's increased the highest for like Black folks, like within the last 2 years, the highest has ever been, suicide rates. And that's something that was not common in the past, but recently they've definitely seen an increase in suicide rates, especially among Black Americans.
And that kind of leads to my next question, with the theme being Black health and wellness. And at the start of Black History Month, we dealt with two, prominent African American young individuals committing suicide. We saw Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr., and we also seen Chelsea Chris. Like, that one, like, really it bothered me for the entire day to see this woman, to see this Black, beautiful, she was Miss America, she was smart, she was an attorney, she was fighting for social justice, and we're like, yo, everybody's rooting for her. She was beautiful, like she has a body that people would die for. And to know that she committed suicide literally just had me like stuck. Like, no one, like, I was watching Entertainment all night, just like, was there a sign? Did she say anything? Like that kind of, it just had me at a standstill, because I'm like, wow, like, and these are people who have it all, who are still dealing with, some type of mental illness. And, like you said, mental illness doesn't have a face. And so what are some of the signs, like, what can we do, like, or what are some of the resources? Because I feel like suicide, I feel like it's like the final thing of mental health. Like, it's either you're dealing with it and then boom, and now you're gone. And now everyone else is like trying to figure out like what happened here, or what could we have done as a community to say that, we're here for you. You didn't have to go, or anyone who's maybe dealing with that right now, what can we do as a community to ensure that we're doing our part so that we don't have another incident, or even, or how can we help prevent it?
Yeah. I think when you said that, I immediately think of like the community resources. Like, one of them is like Gang Alternative. They're big on like mentorship. This is what I believe in too. Like, this mentorship is so big. Like, just reaching out like to young people, or just someone, reach out to someone, like, be a mentor, and also advocacy. I love panels like this where we can like normalize it. People are like, oh, they talk about mental health. I know it's a stigma around it. It's like, yeah, let's talk about it. Just as we talk about, hypertension, diabetes, we should feel free to talk about mental health, like, anxiety, depression, whatever the case may be. To answer your question too, I love what it makes me think about the first time I actually saw a therapist, which was like probably like 4 years ago. I was going through a rough time, but I love when my therapist said, the first thing she said, Sonia, I'm not here for the mask or who you pretend or who you make people think you are. She was like, I'm gonna need you to be you. And she was like, my goal is to remove the mask. I think sometimes too, as celebrities and all this stuff too, they have people in their lives, unfortunately, that they can't really be vulnerable to. Maybe that's the case. But I think one of the first steps too is to pretty much, let's remove the mask for real. Let's not try to show people our best face. You know what I mean? And let's just show them what it is. Like, look, I'm struggling. Talk to someone. Reach out. Like, I'm struggling, like, seriously.
So no, and that sense of community, that sense of having someone you can reach out to, talk to, it's key. You talked about, hey, writing some things down on paper, or, you know, just the self-affirmation. But if it wasn't for my village, if it wasn't for the family, for the friends, like, I don't know where I would be. Like, I definitely wouldn't be in this position, but but it is definitely, it's something that improves my mental health. My nephew, my Liam, he has been my rock from birth, and he helps me deal with, you know, if I'm having a rough day, like, I'll come over and he'll give me the hug, and I felt like all my pains, everything just went away. But, you know, recognizing it, like you said, and knowing that, hey, reaching out before you get to that point where you're isolating yourself and you are staying home, and next thing you know, you're not taking showers and you're just not just going out, and then it starts.
You got to stay in community for sure. Never ever isolate yourself.
No.
And you're very surprised how many other people are struggling and dealing with the same thing you're dealing with. There is no shame.
No, seriously, no shame here. Like, I am not picture perfect. When I get home, the wig comes off, and I am Kassandra.
Exactly.
But no, thank you, Sonia. Let's look through the chat for some questions. Someone says, how do we address, or we need to address, the intergeneration trauma and how it affects mental wellness of individual? Oh, that's a deep one, because we don't think about what's happening within our generation and the trauma it's causing, or even how social media has implicated our lives so much now with, you know, now they're. So
research out that says like how social media has like caused like increase of anxiety and depression in us, pretty much because we're looking at these images all day, and a lot of them which are not reality, they're like photoshopped, and then we get anxiety because we begin to like compare ourselves, or, you know, like feel less of, oh, I'm not like, you know, where I'm supposed to be, or not where this person is.
No, and that's a good one. And thank you, Marie Etienne, who also put some resources in the chat. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline hours, they're available 24 hours in English and Spanish, and hopefully they work on Creole. And that's 1-800-273-8255. If you know someone in crisis, they can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Thank you so much for that, Marie Etienne, who is in the Zoom room and giving us resources. Are there any other resources, Sonia, that you would like to share as well?
Since this is Black History Month, there's a website called blackmenheal.org. It's amazing, helps like connect people who are struggling with a therapist and just a community of others who are struggling as yourself. There's Psychology Today. I like that one. If you're interested in finding a therapist or a provider who can help you with, you know, a consultation, whatever the case may be, help you, in this journey. blackmentalwellness.com is another nice one that I like. They have the American Psychological Association.org. I like that one. That's when I want to be a nerd and read up about, you know, all things psychology. Let's see, there's a nice resource in Florida. There's a lot of resources in Florida too. And there's some podcast therapy for Black girls. There's some books, Emotional Intelligence. I like that one. I'm actually reading that one. I need to finish it, actually. It helps us to just recognize how to be more emotionally intelligent instead of just like lashing out. Recognize, you know, okay, how I'm feeling. And yeah, I like that one. And The Power of Now, that helps. That's a good book. It helps with anxiety. It helps you just focus on now so that it decreases anxiety versus just thinking about what could happen and what has happened in the past. What else? And as far as like for treatment or diagnosis, there's some good resources in the community. Douglas Mental Health. I'm a Miami resident, so yeah. Douglas Mental Health. I've had family who've gone there and received care. And of course, Heritage Wellness Florida.com. That's actually a private practice that I work for, and we're able to provide psychiatric services to all individuals in Florida.
And you provide psychiatric services. Are they
We do in person for those who prefer to be in person, but because of COVID and everything, we're following the CDC guidelines. So we also provide telemedicine because we want to meet people where they are. Like right in your home, like if you can do the intake there, evaluation there, we'll do it.
Okay. Well, no, thank you so much, Sonia, for that. Like, this segment was definitely needed. It was definitely a moment of mindfulness as we think about our mental health during Black History Month. There's so much happening right now in the media, in the news, and sometimes you have to tap out and take a temperature on your mental health and see what can you do to better improve it. And of course, if you need help or if you know a loved one that needs help, please reach out to some of these resources because it's a serious issue. And Sonia, if you have any final words before we bring on our next guest.
I definitely want to thank you again, Miss Councilwoman, for this, because definitely we need to talk about it. We really do, because mental health is like physical health. You know what I mean? We focus on the physical, but let me tell you, it affects everything. You know how they mind over matter? Literally, mind first over matter, because it affects our physical and everything. Our thoughts affect our behaviors, and our behaviors affect our actions in life. So you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to just reach out for help.
No, thank you. My mind is set on